Hello there and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I'm your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, we all begin our journey into the various elements of our life at some starting point. And for me, I have a love of fragrance, and my enjoyment of men's cologne, aftershaves, whatever you want to call it, began at an early age, as it does for many of us chaps. Because just like everybody else, my dad enjoyed the classics, many of which are represented here on the table. And he was not somebody who back then or even now would have spent money on fancy colognes, but he always had one or two of the classics around the house. Cheapies, it's true, but they are fragrances which endure to this day, and there's a lot of love and affection for many of these fragrances. As a young person, young boy, I would have, gone into the bathroom and sneaked a splash of one of his colognes, thinking that it made me smell like a gentleman, like a young man. And that's where my enjoyment of fragrance began, and it grew to the point that it is today, where I have a collection probably way north of 50 fragrances, and I choose my cologne based on my mood and the things that I intend to do that day. So for me, cologne began at an early stage. And of course these things are generational, because my young lad, I've got a 12-year-old son, he will sneak into my bedroom and raid my cologne drawer before he goes to school, which is always quite interesting when I say goodbye to him and I catch a whiff of, Floris 89 or something like that. I think this is clearly lost on the other school kids that my son smells of a classically elegant, chic fragrance. But because I think that this is an important part of everybody's journey, I've curated a small little collection of 5 of the most quintessential classic fragrances which still exist today. And they're here right now. I'm going to review them. I'm going to smell them all and tell you my opinion. Because of course these fragrances, although the names are very familiar, they will have changed hands many times. This is commonplace in the fragrance industry. The license to produce one of these fragrances might get sold on from one company to another. They will reformulate the constituent parts of that fragrance, so the aroma, the smell, will change ever so slightly over the passing of time, but hopefully they still retain something of their original accords. So that's what we're going to test today. I'm going to tell you what I think of these fragrances, what they're all about, and if I could recommend them. And at the end, I will choose a winner, which I think is the best value for money and is the best practical fragrance for the modern era. So, let's begin. Okay, let's get this show on the road. The plan is I'm going to test each one. I've got some hot water and some towels here. I'm going to freshen up because I'm going to apply some to my skin in the process of testing them. But to begin, we're going to watch some of the marketing commercials which were in their day used to promote these products. So let's start with perhaps, well, most certainly the oldest fragrance here on the table, and it's one which many people will be familiar with, and it is Old Spice Original. So this is what its marketing looked like way back then.
Old Spice, para quem gosta do desafio ao sucesso.
Now I have to say, I still vividly remember those commercials from UK TV, and of course this would have been the entry point for many people, particularly Americans, because I believe it was very strong in the American market. It was released in 1938, Old Spice, and it endures to the current day. Very popular fragrance. Let's give it a little try on the skin. I'm not going to overload myself on it. It's a splash bottle. Most of the fragrances here today identify themselves as aftershave lotion or something of that nature. So let's have a little whiff of that. I gotta say, it's very nice. It's a pleasing, spicy, amber spicy fragrance. The name, it's in the name, isn't it? Old Spice. There's some floral elements to it as well. What else can I tell you? I think it's got a bit of a wintry tone to it, so if it was a cooler time of year, I think this works rather well. But it's fresh, it's clean, and I like it. Now, undoubtedly, this has been reformulated many, many times in its lifetime, but I reckon you can easily get away with that today. It's quite mild, it's office appropriate. Definitely that spiciness is what's coming through to me in the aftershave version at the very least. So I quite like this one, but it's not amazing. So out of 5, I'm going to score it 3 out of 5. Now I should have said the Old Spice only cost £7 British, so good value for money. Our second option for the day is going to be another old classic from 1975. Cost the grand total of £5 British. It's Blue Stratos.
Blue Stratos. An aftershave. With a fragrance that seems to capture the freshness and freedom of the windswept sky. Blue Stratos for men.
And as you can see, they very much promote the fact that it is a manly, masculine fragrance, good for men who are undertaking vigorous outdoor activities. Ooh, yeah. I remember this one very well from my youth. You can see a lot of the bottle is gone. That's because I bought this bottle last year and I passed it on to my dad actually, and he's been wearing it and loves it. You get a strong hint of citrus, and there's a bit of an aquatic undertone to it. Perhaps it's put into my mind by this vibrant blue bottle which the juice comes in, but certainly Blue Stratos, it's as cheap as chips. There's nothing cheaper on the table today. £5 British. I really like it. This is a fragrance, I think, which could easily be worn in the modern era. Definitely citrusy, a little bit of florality as well. I'm catching the hints of. I think this can easily be worn in the office, out and about on a daily basis. It is fresh. It is, again, powdery, clean smelling. So very great qualities that one looks for in a modest priced aftershave. And £5, I mean, good God, you know, there's not much cheaper in the world, and for something so cheap, I think it does rather well. I have to tell you, I think it does rather well. So let's get some of that off my skin and get on to the next one. And our next one today is another very much older classic. It's Brut. And how was Brut marketed way back in the 1970s?
Today's your Brut day. Today you've got a running start. You're a man who feels the part. It's your lucky Brut day today. All the signs look good today, and everything seems to go your way. Today's your Brut day. You can feel your luck running hot. Today's your Brut day. With Brut, you'll give it your best shot. Today's your Brut day. It's your lucky Brut day. Make every day your Brut day with Brut by Fabergé. Today.
Now, I forgot to say there, I didn't give a mark to Blue Stratos. 4 out of 5, so a good score for Blue Stratos for sure. Now, moving on to Brut, as you can see, the advert, very much of its era, very much so. It's all these men going about their lives encountering pretty women in every circumstance. And Brut is an old classic from, I think it's 1964, if I remember right. And this one, £5 British, bought from Home Bargains. So if you're a British viewer, you will know Home Bargains is an incredibly budget level pharmacy and general goods store, and £5 bought last Sunday. It's interesting. It's a bit of a fougere going on there. It's an old classic fragrance, a bit of a barber shop. It's weak. It's slightly sweet. I can see that it could be easily worn in the modern era. But of the 3 we've tried so far, for me this one is aged the most. It's from a different era and it smells it. And I'm getting sweetness there, which I'm not loving. Yeah, this one is okay. You could wear it. I mean, for that price, again, very modest. Nothing there which is going to break the bank. but nothing which is going to be particularly exciting as a fragrance. So I'm going to go as far as to say I'm going to give this one my lowest score so far, and that's 2 out of 5. Value for money is good, but it's just the fragrance seems stuck in its original era. I don't think it's kept pace, whereas the other two still seem fresh and wearable today. This is one that my father will be in receipt of by the end of the day because it's not coming into my collection. But there we go, 2 out of 5 for Brut. Okay, now moving on. Only 2 to go before we render an overall decision. Mandate. Mandate is a fragrance which was released in 1976, and this is the advertisements you would have seen for it way back then.
Sensual, long-lasting mandate. Worn by men, loved by women.
So yet again, very masculine, very much the chisel-jawed chap applying these fragrances. There's a definite theme in the 1970s and 80s, isn't there, about the way men's fragrance were promoted. But Mandate is probably the oldest fragrance in my current collection, because this is from my personal collection, and Mandate has been with me since I was a young man. Because for me, when I started off in the fragrance world, this would have been one of the first fragrances I bought with my own money, because I loved Mandate. And I've continually owned it for over 30 years. When the last bottle became empty, I bought this one. And this one, £10 for 100 millilitres. So moving up in price a bit here now, but still very, very modestly priced. Very of its era looking. It looks like a piece of, art from the 1970s. The sort of garish golden cap, rounded edges, the font, everything here puts me in mind of the era from which it was born. But that's not important. What is important is how it smells. You'll notice it's the first and only of the fragrances I have here today which is an eau de toilette in a spray form. So potentially could be a bit stronger because of that. Let's get some of it on the back of the hand and see what she goes like. Boom. Mandate. It's got a lot more going on. There's a lot more fragrance profile here. Lavender, it comes across immediately. And again, citrusy as well, bergamot perhaps, but there's definitely a woody undertone to it, even at the very beginning of the spray on the hand, and it will die down to a woody base note. The bergamot and the woodiness comes across slightly musky as well. And that's one of the reasons why I think Mandate has carried across the decades rather well, and is still a very viable fragrance for a gentleman's collection, even in the modern era. So for £10, I think this is very good. I'm going to give it a score. Of course I am. Nothing is perfect. 4.5 out of 5 so far. So my best score so far. It is classic, yes, it is slightly soapy. There's a masculinity to it caused by the cutting citrus and the woody undernotes. A little bit more sophisticated than what we've smelled so far, but definitely of the classics on this table, I'm liking that one. Okay, moving on to our last one. And this is a re-release of a classic which was originally produced in 1967. High Karate. Very expensive. This one cost me £16 because it's a new release. But it's the most hilarious advertisement of all that you'll see today. Watch this.
This is High Karate Aftershave. If a man uses too much, he's asking for trouble, and usually finds it. Because just one whiff drives women wild. Makes men irresistible. Fortunately, every pack of High Karate contains indispensable instruction on self-defense. High Karate Aftershave. Be careful how you use it.
There we go. Interesting, as I said. This new release has been blended to be as close as possible to the original. And I have to say, having smelled it, I think they've come pretty close. Now, when it first was around, when it was advertised when I was a kid, I could never work out whether this was a serious fragrance or just some sort of jokey gimmick in which they implied, of course, that if you used this fragrance, that you would need to know martial arts to sort of beat off the lusty women who would chase you wherever you went, because the fragrance emanating from you would cause that reaction in them. I still don't work out whether it was genuine or not, but certainly let's give the fragrance a little go. And it is an aftershave, the original aftershave, and let's have a go with this one. Wow, I forgot, I haven't smelled it for a few days. Bought it over a week ago, haven't smelled it for a while, but crikey. It's very distinctive, and it does propel me back to the era when I first smelled it, definitely, which for me would have been in probably the late 70s, early 80s, when I was a young fellow. I still can't work out whether I like it or I loathe it. It's one of those fragrances, it doesn't take me in either way immediately. It's certainly got some qualities which are unique. There's a lot of citrus there, that's for sure, and there certainly is some muskiness there too. Yeah, the musky tang, I'm smelling it now, it's really coming through. But it's unusual. It's not like anything else here on the table. It's definitely got a personality which you will either like or it will rub you up the wrong way. There lies the risk, of course, when you buy something like that. Funnily enough, on the box which this comes in, there is a warning, and I'll read it to you. Caution, high karate aftershave. So powerful, mystical and appealing. Use too much and you may be asking for trouble. Be careful how you use it. Well, I have to say, I don't think I'll be beating off many females from attacking me because I'm wearing high karate. I think half the people who encounter it will find it off-putting. The other half will find it palatable. For me, I'm firmly in the middle, to be honest. I can't decide whether I like it or loathe it. And as a consequence of that, naturally, I'm going to have to give it a middle mark of 3 out of 5. Because, yeah, I'm halfway one way, halfway the other. So High Karate, an interesting re-release. I'm delighted that they've brought it back from the dead. And it does smell very much like its original. But definitely, yeah, it's still got a bit of that gimmickiness going on. Okay, there we go. I've washed myself off from all of the fragrance that I have applied to my hands as my horse walks past. Thank you. And, well, if you've been following the scores, you know who's won. There can be only one winner for me. It's the fragrance which I think carries over to the modern era the best. The rest are still available. They're still incredibly modest in price. Any of these, other than possibly the High Karate, will be a selection for any gentleman that they can wear comfortably pretty much any time. They're not offensive. If you just want a background fragrance and you don't want to wear something which is a statement piece, which occasionally people want, any of these, other than the High Karate, will be a good choice. The High Karate, maybe something you want to leave for special occasions if you like it, or, you know, there's no risk of offending anybody's nose. That's got a bit more going on than the other things. But the one fragrance which I could comfortably say I would wear any day of the week is Mandate. Even though, you know, it's considered to be very inexpensive, 10 British pounds for this big bottle, readily available, still in production. This is definitely the one which I would select out of these 5, and I would be happy to endorse that. I would be happy to wear them, or this, at any time. So there we go. Our clear winner is Mandate. Worth adding to the collection, and it won't break the bank. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today on this battle of the classics. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget, if you like the content, click the red button, come on a journey with us as a subscriber. If you'd like to practically support the channel, you can buy me a coffee, and the link to the Buy Me a Coffee page is in the show notes below, or you can click that super thanks button down there next to the thumbs up button. It all helps keep the content coming. So until the next time, choose a fragrance, be it a classic or a modern designer, yet pick something which is a signature fragrance for you, which will excite the olfactory senses of the people that you meet as you go through life. So until the next time, take care of yourselves, and I will see you again very soon.